$1,000 light for $400? Is it possible that Aputure only makes high-end prosumer products? What's up everyone, I'm Peter. Well, Aputure has just made the perfect COB LED lights for prosumers and solo creators, and they are 3 times cheaper than their heavy-duty brothers. Of course, it comes with some sacrifices. Today we are gonna talk about the Amaran series, the 100D, the 100X, the 200D and the 200X. D stands for daylight and X stands for bicolor. The bicolor loses a bit of color but gains color accuracy. They range between 3 and 500 euros and they provide the same light quality and even the brightness, and one of them is a little bit brighter than their heavy-duty brothers. Today we are going to talk about the 200D, but before we do that, let me put this whole segment into a perspective. Godox has been dominating the low budget but still high quality light market. Even though Aputure's whole business is making outstanding filming tools, yet on an accessible price, it is positioned for more high-end production between the indie and the blockbuster range. So how did Aputure tap into a yet potential market? Well, they introduced the Amaran line, and it is incorporating a great user experience. It's compatible with their Sidus Link app with amazing quality, and this combination allows you to invest in one light, then another, and start building your equipment park. We'll cover the features, the design, what's in the box, the app, which is amazing by the way, the whole user experience, and I'm gonna show you some tests and tips. But first, let's roll the intro. Disclaimer, Aputure did send me the Amaran 200D and their new cheap version of softbox, but my opinion is entitled to me. They had no saying or whatsoever what I put in this review, and this is the first time that they are saying it as you are. Let's start with the features. 200 stands for 200 watts, not some misleading names than like some other brands. And the color accuracy is 95 plus CRI. If you don't know what that means, it is pretty damn accurate. The white balance ranges from 2800 Kelvin to 2600 Kelvin. The fan is constantly spinning, but it's quieter than you think. Right now the light, I'm using the Amaran 200D and it's like 1 meters away from me and you can barely hear nothing. So let me just shut up for a second and see if you hear something. Nothing, right? Of course, if you listen to it live, you can hear it, but nothing that would mess up your audio. It sounds a little bit more electricity-y, if you will, not just the fan noise. Maybe it's because of the build, but the main point is that throughout the audio that you are recording on it, it won't mess it up. The yoke is plastic, but it doesn't feel plasticky. It holds the light and even large modifiers just fine. The angle of the mount is easy to adjust and use. An extra feature of the yoke is the built-in umbrella mount. One thing that is worth to mention is that the power plug is very snug, and if you push the umbrella rod all the way in, they might get in the way. Next off, the knobs. They are butter smooth, it's easy to adjust, and with the X series you can adjust the Kelvin and also you can adjust, of course, the brightness. It's very sturdy, it goes simultaneously, so very easy and nice to adjust it. I have to mention here, we will talk about what's in the box. There is no remote control like, for example, with the Viltrox V-Light Ninja, which is also a budget light, or with the more heavy-duty, a higher price point kind of Aputure lights. That's something that you have to keep in mind, but you can control it with the app. We'll talk about that later as well. So back to the knobs. You can easily change the dim and the color temperature. You can press the knobs as well and they change in steps. There are built-in effects, and you can also create your own effects. And if you press the knobs, you can go in 10% intervals, which is great if you are not just fine-tuning, but just want to go to the end or whichever end of the brightness or the color temperature. They are main power only, which means that there are no V-mount options. The LCD screen is large enough, it's bright, you can see it from many angles, but there are not so many things to adjust, so it's pretty straightforward. You know what's in there. If you want to fine-tune some things, we'll talk about the app later. Oh, and actually you can update the firmware throughout the app, which is awesome because the Amaran line already got an upgrade where you can adjust the fan from medium to low or auto. So I think it's nice that even though you get the hardware, which is pretty straightforward from the beginning, but if there are minor tweaks or maybe some efficiency or new modes, there's a firmware update that you can do straight out from your app. Let's talk about the build quality and design. Even though they had to make some compromises on the housing, they did an amazing job, and I love the design and the sturdiness. Instead of going with the industry standard aluminum alloy, they went with a high quality dense plastic housing, which does an amazing job with cooling as well. On top of that, I love the look and the aesthetics. It's a great design with the matte gray finish. So if you show up at a shoot with this, it instantly demonstrates professionalism. One thing to note though is that thanks to the material it is lighter, but you want to be more careful with these lights since they might not withstand the fall. I don't want to test it. Now let's talk about what's in the box. Well, the box itself looks super cool, shows this Aputure high quality, and the unboxing experience is just great. Of course, you get this powerful, amazing light, and next to it there is the power brick. Yes, it's a power brick, but it comes with a cord so you can attach it to your tripod or any kind of stand. The cable attaches to the light has a lock-in mechanism and is 3 meters long, so you don't get any kind of dangle situation. It also comes with a bone, and pretty much that's it. So let's talk about what's not in the box, thanks to the budget cut and more budget-friendly version of these amazing lights. Well, so as I mentioned, there is a power brick. The power is not attached to the light. You cannot mount it next to it. It doesn't have like a separate handle. It doesn't have the remote, and it doesn't have a case, because maybe on one hand it's because of the price cut, but on the other hand, these are not made for taking them all around and reassembling them. Its best use is in a studio where it has its space, it stays there, but trust me, you won't have any issues if you choose to take it to several locations. You just have to be a little bit more careful. No case included, which in my opinion signals that they are not meant to be carried a lot, but you won't have any problem with taking them to shoots. Just be more careful, you'd be with more like robust slides. This is not really a con, just something that we need to understand, since Aputure's aim with this line is to keep costs down. Oh, and there is no V-mount battery option neither. And now about the app, the Silence Link app. I think it's better than any other apps I've used, the Godox, the Falconize, the Digital Photo. It has so many control options, presets, collective setups, group controls, and more. It is just an innovation when it comes to controlling lights. So let me walk you through the features. Obviously the most important one, controlling the temperature, the color temperature, and the brightness. It's so easy, you just swipe and that's all. One super unique feature is adjusting the dimming curves. Out of the box it's linear, and I think most people prefer that, but if you want you can play around with that and adjust it to your own taste. And it has effects, built-in effects, and alongside the typical ones like cop car, paparazzi, you can fine-tune the frequency of the effects and as well create your own kind of effects and save them as a preset, which is quite a unique feature, and the way you can create them is pretty straightforward and simple. I think I said that so many times in this review, but the user experience not only the usage of the app, but also the usage of the light, but also the UX of the app is top-notch. The next thing to talk about is the brightness. 200 watts is way more than you would ever need with this talking head setup, with the shoot that you are doing. If you are not doing like super slow-mo with these crazy cameras, 1000 FPS, the 200 watt is more than enough. Right now I'm using it around 25-30% of brightness, and if I put it to 100, it would just so overexpose me using the Sony a7S III with S-Log 3. You know, you have to overexpose S-Log 3 1.7 over the standard exposure, and with the base ISO 640, the 25% is enough. Oh, and actually, I'm using now an ND filter, a VND filter, and I had to step it down because, you know, the 24 GM is 1.4 aperture. So if you use like a 2.8 or 4 aperture, it would be good. But now I'm using the Polar Pro Peter McKinnon VND from 1 to 5 stops. Now it's at 3 stops, it's down. So the brightness doesn't come really from the outside, and this 25% with the level 3 stop of the VND at the base ISO of 640 at the 1.4 aperture, it's just perfect. That's it. In my other reviews, I don't really mention accessories, but I think it's important to talk about it here. First off, you need a sturdy stand, like a C-stand, and a sandbag to hold the light to make sure that it won't fall, since it's not that heavy duty. The other thing is, since it's not an RGB light, it can be, with the X versions, it can be tungsten and daylight, or with the D version, it's just a D light at 5600 Kelvin. You could get gels, and with gels you can get basically any colors without spending money for a more expensive light. Or if you want to stay on this budget-friendly level but get the Aputure experience, we kind of have to wait for Aputure to create an Amaran RGB light. Hopefully they will do, but till then the gels are a good way to go. And the softbox. We creators love to use different modifiers with our light, so as you can see now on my face, it's not a harsh light, it's a very nice 3D kind of setup that I'm using. And actually this is the entry-level budget softbox from Aputure, the Lightstorm SE. So let's talk about this one. One of my biggest fear with this was that you have to assemble it with the pieces all together, and I use softboxes like that and I hate it. It's such a mess, it's hard to steer it and put it to the right direction, especially the last 1, 2 or 3 pieces. But this wasn't the case with the Lightstorm SE. I don't know, maybe it's the material or some magic, but it's so easy to set it up. Of course, it would be easier if it was built in and I could just open it as a normal umbrella or some other softboxes I use, but I didn't feel the pain and the hassle I felt with other assemble needed softboxes. So that out of the question, I think it's a great softbox. Before this, in my home studio, I used the 120 centimeter softbox, octagon softbox, but it was just too big for this room setup. And this is a 60 centimeter diagonal softbox, and I think it's the perfect size for a smaller room and for actually lighting ahead. So if I move this around, you can see how it is moving, and you don't see it on the frame. If you've seen some previous videos of mine, you saw that on this part of the screen sometimes it was black covered because the softbox was just so huge that it covered the part of the screen. So 60 centimeters, I think it's way more than enough for this talking head segment. And if you are not planning to move around, you have a home studio, you can save quite a lot of money if you go with the Lightstorm SE. So before we move on, let's talk about what's in the box with the Lightstorm SE. It comes in a folding case, which is great, 3 diffusers, 2 identical, and 1 to put it in the middle part of the softbox. It also comes with an included honeycomb grid, and of course the softbox itself. It's cheap, but looks super cool and professional. The price point of the Amaran COB lights are, let me read it, the 100D is 330 euros, the 100X is 370 euros, the 200D is 450 euros, and the 200X is 490 euros. Maybe I can include the LS60, which is also a new light, and it is 450 euros. Let's conclude this video. You can see how excited I am about the Amaran series, and I'm sure if you choose to build your lighting setup with the first Amaran Aputure light, it won't disappoint you. You will love it. It will serve you very well for a long time, and especially if you are choosing it for a home environment, your own studio, and you are not moving it around, incorporating it with the Lightstorm SE. I really think that it's perfect. You should get this light if you are on a budget and you don't need the extra features of the LS300D or 300X, and you are using it on one place, you are not taking it all around to different shoots. You don't need to worry about if it falls, since it's not that sturdy. And by the way, this applies to the Lightstorm SE as well, which, as I said, now is my main studio light, but I wouldn't want to carry it around and break it down and take it to shoots, assembling it all the time. If I can have one wish for Aputure to extend their Amaran line and keep working on it, maybe include an RGB version, as I said before. But talking about RGB, they are collaborating with SGC Lighting. They are making amazing tube lights, RGB tube lights, and they are compatible with the Sidus Link app. Hopefully in the close future you will see a review about that as well. And if I can manage to show you that, I will show you how you can incorporate the RGB tube lights and the Aputure lights and connect them throughout the Sidus Link app. To sum it up, if you want a reasonably priced light that delivers Aputure quality, you should go with this light. And before you go from this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you are into videography, creating, and these kind of topics. I'm not only showing you, and as you experienced in this video, I don't really talk about just the features, but share my 2 cents on how to leverage an equipment in the best possible way by showing you hacks, tips and tricks. But this is just one part. The other is that since I'm a solo creator and I work with clients, I'm taking you along to shoots, actual productions, and taking you behind the scenes, showing you how I edit, how I set up shots. I will show some of my work that I'm really proud of. For example, if you haven't seen the video that I created for Jamie Oliver's Jamie's Diner line and the pizza B-roll, make sure to check that as well. And well, if this was the first time, as I mentioned, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, like if you like this video, and let's continue the conversation over the comment section. Is this the light for you, or you are gonna go with another brand or some more expensive lights? Please let me know under the comments, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye.